it's Stu, and here I am, even though I thought I wouldn't get another video in before the end of the year. I've hauled and I've read and I've made a little TBR, so I'm making a video about it so I can work it all out. So since I made the last video, which was, I don't know, several days ago, a few days ago, I did read and finish Samantha Jane Allen's Pay Dirt Road. I finished listening to Erin Morgenstein's Night Circus. And then I kind of decided that, you know, setting my own kind of December has been really random. And not like even mood really random, like things that came off whole, things that I felt like I had to get to because of other reading challenges that spanned across time, etc. So I kind of wanted to be like, set my own little reading challenge. So I did. I decided to just kind of look at my December potential books and read the Book of the Month books because as I talked about in my last video, The Kingdom of Sweets by Erica Johansson was for sure the holiday read that I had planned for quite a while, and it happens to be Book of the Month. It's Book of the Month from December 2023. And then I just noticed that I had also Kristen Hanna's Great Alone was a Book of the Month, and I noticed that I had a couple of Book of the Months also on my like potential December reads. And so I decided to kind of make like a little Book of the Month TBR. So I've since finished Necessary People by Anna Pachonik, and I won't say too much. I'm almost halfway through Kristen Hanna's The Great Alone. Today is very much a reading day, so I think that I will finish this probably today or early tomorrow. And then I hope to, and I've had this book on my shelf for a long time and have wanted to read it actually several times for a long time, so I feel good about this. Queenie by Candace Carty-Williams. Sort of that's my through the weekend book reading challenge. I still have The Furrows as a maybe. I still have several listens, which we'll see what listening is like. And then I still have The Essex Serpent as books that I really hope to get to before the end of the month, but this is what I feel pretty committed to basically for the end of the week. When I first started hauling, I hauled a lot more Book of the Months because I didn't know. When I first started reading again, kind of voraciously, I didn't have the sense that I have now after watching BookTube, talking with booksellers, talking with librarians, all of the things that have happened in the last year. So Book of the Month was compelling to me. It was like already curated for all of the reasons that Book of the Month is. And when I would find them in little free libraries or even thrift shops, I said, okay, look, somebody already kind of curated this, at least for potential of popularity. And I mean, it's a good place to start. I've since sort of lost any romantic notions with Book of the Month. I think that they carry some great authors, and they also perhaps carry some that I'm not interested in. And so I don't necessarily need that subscription denotation to curate books for me anymore. But it was kind of nice at this end of the year to kind of go back to some of the titles, you know, that I kind of relied on the Book of the Month to help me find. Because had they not had the Book of the Month emblem, I might have they would just be potentials and I might have passed them by. I will try to do a book review video on Sunday before company gets here because I have quite a few books that I would like to go over. However, if I don't, I don't, and I'm fine with that. I do want to say that because I'm about to go into like a rapid fire haul, and I just want to say this even for myself in contemplation of all of these books. This one I haven't read yet, but it's very likely. plus maybe 3 or 4 more since my last book review video, are all on haul. Nothing you see here has been read. 1 or 2, actually, an exception of maybe 1 or 2, has been read at least in the last year since I've been hauling books. And I feel really committed to this recycling of books, having a library as it's part of like the decor and what I'd like to spend my money and time on, but also making sure that they get out. Almost all into Little Free Libraries. Some are Friends of the Library donations, and some, of course, and several this month, I plan to actually give to specific people. So I'm keeping that in mind because this last book haul was much bigger than, and they have been for a while. So I'm being honest about that they've been bigger than I had anticipated, and I don't regret any of the books, and I rarely do. Sometimes I get home and I'm like, not that one, but you know what? It goes into the Little Free Library pile, and that's okay. I have kind of decided not to be very experimental anymore, and that kind of went out the window with this book haul because I don't know that much, if anything, about any of these books, and I still hauled them because of plot or author diversity. The thing that gets a lot of us: compelling cover, especially if it's an experimental book, and or like 2025 release, which it doesn't mean all that much, but to have really contemporary books, especially in this hauling environment, does a little. Now, when will I get to reading them? They might not be contemporary anymore, but that's what sort of helped me discern, as there were many new donations, and there was just a lot to discern from. So without further ado, Samantha Soto Yambao's Water Moon is a 2025 release, and it takes place in Tokyo in a back street, and there's a pawn shop involved in this. It's not a translation. It's written in English from the best I can tell. And other than that, I don't know that much about this book. It is a beautiful book. I do want it to be a display. I keep calling books to be like, this is going to be my display book, and indeed it is. I have a spot right over there to put it. Run to Earth by Paul Yun is a novel about the Laotian Civil War. And well, it's taking place in this time in the 1960s in Laos, when a lot was going on in that region. And I am like, look at how beautiful this little book is, and I'm really, besides how to pronounce knife, a Laotian Canadian author, I don't think I've read any other Laotian authors, so I'm excited about that. I have 2 Jane Gardams, which are these Europa editions, and I have not read any Jane Gardam, so she's going to be one of those, like, read the first book of an author that I have more than one book for in January, as one of my January piles of possibilities. For some reason, The Queen and the Trampoline, The Queen of the Tramborine, although it's a epistolary, a novel, which I don't normally like that much, I feel most compelled to read this. It's got a real psychological element that I'm interested in, and then I have someone I'd like to unhaul it to. So maybe in January I'm going to read this. If not, this goes. I have a nice Europa edition shelf that my Europa editions go on. A History of Wild Places by Shay Earnshaw. This is dark suspense, I think. I just read Necessary People and Pay Dirt Road, a couple of suspense thrillers, and so I've been doing okay working through that shelf. This is a Oregon author, and this is an Oregon setting, and It's doing multiple points of view, whose names are the titles of chapters. And when an author does a really good job of different points of view like that, I really like it. When they don't do a good job, when they all feel like the same person, especially if they're written in the first person. It really is distracting and annoying for me as a reader. So we'll see with this one, but I did feel compelled to get it. So I did. The Volcano Daughters by Gina Marie Palibera. This is El Salvador. This is an El Salvadorian tale from the 1920s. So El Salvadorian, maybe historical fiction, maybe magical realism. I haven't explored it that much, but I did want El Salvador as a representation, as a setting, and or author on my shelves, as I don't believe I have anything from El Salvador. So I grabbed that. The Atomic Weight of Love by Elizabeth J. Church. I was like, should I not? It was one of those. It's about a woman in post-World War II through the 70s, I think, making her way as a scientist in this misogynistic, chauvinistic, patriarchal male's world. And I still haven't read Lessons in Chemistry. It's sitting up there, and I felt like I maybe should get to that before I haul a book like this, but for whatever reason, I said, let me grab this book. This feels like, a Women's History Month sort of pick. Not because of necessarily feminism or female authorship or female binary female representation as most of my shelves, but as this is kind of like exploring maybe this women in STEM, which feels appropriate for that. This author is from New Mexico, and I also like that. I would get a lot of New York, California, Pacific Northwest, but New Mexico, not so much. Monica Brashear's House of Cotton. I hauled for two reasons. The cover. I find this a spectacularly compelling cover. And if this is a representation of this book, there's a lot for me to analyze just from the cover. And then George Saunders gave the blurb. And so I believe this is about the Appalachians. I think this is maybe a little suspense, maybe horror tropey. And I get the sense that it's a little, that. And maybe in that way, a little weird. I haven't otherwise heard about this book. The Appalachians, I believe, is the setting. Catherine Adele West's The Two Lives of Sarah. This is Memphis in the 60s. I am here for this. Catherine Adele West is from Chicago, and so this gives sort of like Black History Month feel, because it is plenty of Black and African American authors on the shelf and stories that still need to be told in all ways. This has like the historical fiction, like people living through what we know is the civil rights movement in American history. And also another really compelling cover. I've seen covers like this before. Still Life by Sarah Winman I hauled because I read Tin Man and I liked Tin Man. I know not everybody does. I found it heart-wrenching. I found it a little hard to stay in, but I did really like it. And so finding Still Life by Sarah Winman to me was a big find. It's also another beautiful book. Kristen Arnett's Stop Me If You've Heard This one is sapphic comedy. I don't know. I mean, this is the Floridian author. I'm here for it. It's either gonna work or doesn't work. That's what I think about this book. It's about a clown. Yeah, that's what this is. And it's gonna be super witty and things that I really get, or not. And it's not gonna be for me at all, which is fine. I wanted to take a chance just to have a book like that. Life Hacks for a Little Alien came across my radar, I believe, on Neurovember. But when I was reading the little blurb, this is author and protagonist is autistic, and it's the story of how this protagonist, you know, experiences and makes it through life as an autistic. I think it's a younger person, the protagonist. It says coming of age, so yeah, it's a coming of age. Crescent by Dana Abu-Jaber. This is an older book, and it really shouldn't have been on the shelves because it's 2003. By that's what I mean by 2003. I am not aware of this author, but this author lives in Portland and teaches at Portland State University. So I wanted to read it. I wanted to read it just for that. Like, what's the setting of this book? Let's see if I can. Oh, Persian American Los Angeles. Okay. I don't know that much about this book, but again, because this author lives in and works at Portland State, I thought that it's someone that I should be aware of, and so I was glad to haul them. The Wildest Sun by Asha Lemy. This is another one that I was like, do I really need this book? It was sitting with the book that I'm going to talk about next. And I don't know anything about this book or this author. This author's from BC. And it's a historical fiction. I had some trepidations having just, you know, a historical fiction. I don't know. This looks like I keep getting it, even though it's not wholly my jam, but this book is Paris, New York, New York's Harlem, and Havana and Key West. So it's spanning across multiple settings, and if done well, that will be fantastic. If this beginning of the timeline is 1943, so now we're getting end of World War II stuff, which just shows up so much in fiction, to the point of, like, you know, you almost want more out of books, not because there aren't stories to be told in every hundreds and hundreds, but sometimes they just rely on tropes. I'm not saying that this ends in the 1960s, and for whatever reason, I decided just grab it. It's one of those experimental ones. And then finally, this is one that I really wanted, which is Sister Song by Lucy Holland. This takes place in London right after the Roman Empire, right? Or maybe even during the Roman Empire. So it's got some, like, sort of ancient society, you know, tones to it. And I mean, it's Sister Song, So, I mean, I'm gonna assume it's about sisters. It's talking about a river. I'm gonna assume it's the Thames. That's what I know. I wanted this one. I felt compelled to this one. I think it's historical fantasy. Okay. And that is it. That is it. There's like, I feel kind of vindicated that my unhaul pile is more than half the length of this haul pile. And then I also feel excited about these books, maybe a little disappointed that I grabbed so many that I wasn't like, what a reflective place to be at, to be like, okay, these are all kind of experimental. I don't know that much about any of these books. I haven't heard about them. I haven't come across them. And like, cause you know, I also pay attention to who's blurbing books that I like. And you know, how you build sort of your repertoire of authors and works. And most of them, with the exception of one, that Sarah Winman, are completely new to me. I'm not even sure. Oh yeah, and the Jane Gardams as well, are completely new to me, and just a huge chance to take. And where these books are $3 and $4 each, I mean, they do add up, and I do have a lot to read. So there was some getting home and being like, I really could have just limited myself to 2 or 3 experiments, and then if they're still there the next time, I can grab 3 or 4 more, and if not, that's okay too. You know, you can't read everything. But alas, it is what it is. I do have space still, so I will find space for these and think about, you know, if any of them will fit on the 52 book club that I'm planning on doing next year, or any of my kind of, in my mind, piles of possibilities. So I can think about when I will actually read them as well. If I don't see anyone again, although I do hope to be able to do a book review video, have a happy new year.